Hello, I'm Timothy Linsdau. I'm a video producer, a Christian. Today I'd like to wade into the argument of creation and evolution. And what we have here and what has been found is an astonishing discovery that is defying modern science today. It's so astonishing that's defying modern science. Recently, secular geologists have claimed that oil can survive millions of years. Maybe not recently, but that's what they say. It can survive millions of years because it's been pasteurized, which is somewhere between 80 degrees centigrade or 176 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go with that. And underground, somehow it gets pasteurized and prevents further biodegradation, which of course means it would be consumed and disappear. But they argue that it could be preserved for that long. But recently in the study that's been done, there's been many tests done in the last 10 years by 1,200 scientists in 52 countries, and they're challenging the pasteurization notion. There have been drills made, test drills, a little bit over 3 miles deep, over 16,000 feet. They found vast quantities of deep life existing in the subsurface below the ground. Now this ecosystem, if you will, this underground ecosystem, takes up a volume twice the size of all the world's oceans and weighs hundreds of times more than all the people on Earth. Okay? And also, 70% of the Earth's microbiota, bacterial and so forth, lives in this subsurface area under the ground. Up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, which of course is above the temperature of boiling water at 212. And I recall doing a video in Yellowstone, and there was this colored rainbow-looking material under the hot water that is they're bacteria that live in this hot water in Yellowstone. So there's already some evidence they live well beyond the temperatures of which we thought they would. Okay, now that kind of wrecks the idea that oil is pasteurized above 80 degrees centigrade. And because it doesn't show that, it's showing that these bacteria are living in that temperature. So as they continue to explore this, and wherever they drill, they're finding it everywhere. So it's like an amazing reservoir of life under the earth, not on the surface of the earth, which is really astounding. So they're discovering new types of life under the surface. The irony is that we're spending vast amounts of money to go to Mars and wherever, which is kind of fun, to dig around and see what we can find there, when we're discovering life here that we didn't even know was there. And these findings that life does survive extreme temperatures on Earth, and they don't disappear underground. In fact, they exist everywhere. Everywhere they drill, they find this. And it appears to be a notion of old oil as a fantasy built on nothing but assumptions. Now, as a Christian and a creationist, I believe that's what you're going to find. You're going to find this oil is not that old. And they're claiming it was that old because the bacteria couldn't live in it that actually consumed the oil. Now, how do we know bacteria consumes oil? Well, there's studies been done. But one example is the Deepwater Horizon spill. Yes, it was bad. And oil is toxic to wildlife, to us, in that form, if we're ingesting it, if we're in it. But interestingly enough, the oil disappears over time, and that is from bacterial action. They actually consume the oil. Remember, oil is from an organic substance. It's not something from a alien invasion that was dumped on the earth. It was formed by algae. Well, you probably heard of trying to produce fuel from algae. It's already been done, basically. And I believe that the Bible gives us the example, or the reason for that happening is in the flood expressed in Genesis and other areas of the Bible. But the full story is in Genesis. Now, this flood it's not some localized thing. You're talking a worldwide, catastrophic thing that happened in a year's time. Movements of continents and mountains beyond our comprehension and speed. Violent experience that changed the surface of the earth from what it once was. And in that convulsive process, this algae was buried in massive amounts. And that pressure and heat down at that level, eventually turned this stuff into oil. And again, I said, examples of algae being used to develop fuel, that's already being done. But interestingly enough, we already have this oil. Not only in reservoirs where you can drill into it and actually pump it out, different techniques that are being used today to extract oil from different rock layers that are being used has produced an enormous amount of oil. A little bit more expensive than just pumping it out of a reservoir, but it is available for us to use. And the amount of energy that we produce from it, it's as much as 60% of oil is consumed in our production of oil, our production of, energy. Now, I'm not an expert on this. I'm an amateur scientist, if you will. It's interesting to me. So I've taken the time to contact through emails and websites different organizations that work in creation research, and the Institution of Creation Research is one of those. And I'll put up their website, and I challenge you, if you're a believer in evolution and what it has done, and I challenge you to challenge them. There's some smart people on there with MS and PhD degrees from all kinds of prestigious schools. Challenge them with your questions. This is a very important thing. This is about salvation, whether you believe the Word of God is true or you don't. And if you don't, that's where you're scrambling, trying to find answers in evolution. And then we keep finding evidence that shows nothing of this of that many years exists. The evidence continues to show that the Bible is accurate in the history of the earth and what has happened. So, take your time. Let your presumptions out of the way. You're presuming things that massive amounts of time have passed because it's the only way that makes sense for you that things could be as they are, that things could have evolved to be what they look like today. Set those aside. Go take a look at ICR or Answers in Genesis, and there's some others. Like I said, these are brilliant people and not ignorant people that are studying these. And as you can see, this, well, maybe you can't see it. I can show you a screenshot. But this was a secular study done by over a 10-year period in 52 different countries. And they found this biomass of, if you will, of bacteria living at extreme pressures and depths, that if it had been that long, there would be no oil left. But it's still there, showing and demonstrating a very short time on the earth. That it's not millions of years, it's thousands of years. Hey, I've told you I'm an amateur scientist. Okay? But if you want the real stuff, you go to these sites, you challenge them, and see what you come up with. So, enjoy the search and the challenge. Thank you. I'm Tim Linsdau. Enjoy, comment, and like my video, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.